105 hours and 44 minutes to print this piece. And it's mostly scaffolding. All this back gets torn off. And it's just going to be this panel across the front. So let's go ahead and do that. Trash. Bingo. Here is the design with the stereo and the equalizer in it. You can see this is an 8-track player, and that's what's going in there. And then we've got a 15-band equalizer, and of course the gauges will go in the top. But we have not overcome all the challenges yet. There are two things I think that are going to prevent me from getting this done. Number one, can I bond this to a piece of metal so it won't melt and distort? And number two, can I paint it chrome or super silver that's going to match the dash? That is the question. If I can accomplish those two things, this is going to go in the car. Some adjustments will be done to that console, but you're starting to see it now. If I can get the paint or chrome to somewhat match that dash, it's going to have a similar design, and that's going to look sick. So the next hurdle involved with this center console and this center control stack is going to be getting it to match the dashboard that's in the car, which is chromed plastic. Now, chroming plastic is a difficult process. It requires a very specific type of plastic. The process includes them baking the chrome onto the plastic, and that reaches a much higher temperature than this PLA 3D print plastic can take. This melts at 195 degrees, and this just would not work for the chroming process. We do have some other pieces of the puzzle. We've got some foam, and we've got some material that matches the door panels. Actually, this is nicer than the vinyl on the door panels. Okay, so this is hard to see, but there is a plexiglass piece right here that I'm working on getting shaped into making this the top. We're getting it shaped into what we need, and it's really hard to film. But I'm working on something here. All right, so I apologize for all my terrible filming on this. I kind of dropped the ball a little bit. I'm trying to figure this out, and it requires two hands and nobody here to film me. So I'm trying to get this thing bent, this sheet. You can kind of see it. There's a sheet here going up over here. So I'm trying to film and bend this thing. I'm heating it with a heat gun, getting it clamped, trying to get it bent. I really need more clamps, but it's coming along, and this will give me a platform. I didn't use wood because I couldn't get it to bend enough. I searched for thin veneer, I searched for plexi, I searched for plastic, I searched for all kinds of things, and then I realized I had this plexi sitting over here in the corner. I thought, well, maybe I can use this. So we're giving it a shot. No money invested, just my hourly wage, which is nothing. So we're going to see what happens. So you can kind of see that piece starting to drop slowly. Just letting the natural weight of it fall. Interesting, when I heat this side, it stands back up. But then, when I come over here and it's nice and soft, it just drops quickly. Okay, so you can't see it, but there's plexiglass now. The whole top of that. I have to trim off the back or shit. I don't know. Maybe I'll bend it and go down the back. We'll see. But yeah. So there's my top cover. Have to cut a hole for the shifter. Gauges, stereo, all that stuff. That is something here. Yeah. I'm making this up as I go along, so bear with me. All the way down the back now. This is my cardboard deck that is now being made here in plexiglass, and I'm cutting out the hole for the shifter, trying to get the location on the cardboard. I've got the console back in. We're going to see if we can get that hole cut for that shifter, and then we can put the plexiglass over the top of it and see if we can get that hole cut in the plexiglass, and then we can get that decking put down and see what it looks like. It's really hard to see this thing, but it's a big piece of plexiglass right there. And there's the cardboard in place now with the hole cut out. It's pretty tight, but that will be about what we're looking at. Alright, let's see if we can get the plexiglass cut. So now I've managed to transfer that marking from the cardboard onto the plexiglass. So I got to cut that out. That's next. Alright, I'm slowly scratching out a hole with this tool here. You just go down the line. It takes a while, but you can see I've already got some cracks right here from when I drilled through, so I'm trying to not exasperate that. Just taking my time, little scratch at a time, and it'll come out. Okay, managed to get the hole through. Let's go see if that fits over the shifter in the car. Okay, there it is, kind of in there. You can see the hole over the shifter. Now I'm going to have to 3D print or make some sort of cover that's going to go over that. And of course there's going to be a covering on top of all that, so. But we're getting there. Okay, work continues, and I've added some brackets in here. These are on a slider, so I can expand this width-wise. And I'm also now hanging this blue bracket that holds the 8-track player stereo that's going to go in here. And then I've got another slider right here so I can expand this as needed to make some adjustments once it's in the car. So I can just get this thing to a perfect fit. I might make a couple more of these to go down the length of it so I can make adjustments for when it's in the car, so I can just slide it on those slots, tighten the bolts, and be done with it. So we're making headway, and it looks like we got a place to hang the stereo equipment. You can see this is starting to come together, but I'm not exactly sure if this is what I'm really looking for. It fits in here nice and tight, but it's just kind of a pain in the ass to deal with. I was really hoping I could build something that could be serviced, so if I needed to work on something underneath that it would be easy to get through, but I'm not exactly sure this is what I'm looking for. But you can see it doesn't look too bad in there. All the contours meet the floor, and that's all nice. Plexiglass is all the way down. It's been trimmed now for the hump in the floor. You can see that there. Yeah, it's kind of cool. I mean, obviously this is going to get covered with something, so this is just the base to hold something, but it's coming along just slowly. More parts are showing up for the center console. We now got 2 sets of speakers. We got speaker grills. We got more PLA for printing, and we've got, these are wireless chargers for cell phones, so I can get those into the console. So all you have to do is set your phone in a special little pocket that I plan to make, and then we will have wireless charging. All right, last of the pieces is showing up. This is air ducting that I'm going to try and duct from underneath the dash to the rear of the car through the center console. So it'll have rear facing ducts back here in the back of the console for the passengers in the back. Thought I'd just go for a little test drive and try out these new seat belts I got, and I'll tell you right off the bat, it is so much nicer than those harnesses that I had. Number one, I can reach over and get the stereo knob or the AC controls. Before, I couldn't reach them. The harnesses had you locked in, so either I had to have the harnesses loose enough to where I could lean forward, and still there's a cutoff point, you stop. But this is nice, be able to move around, just be able to come in and click in just like any other car. That's the way. This is a street car, and I love it. I love these new seat belts. Anyway, we got work to do on that center console, so let's get to it. All right, back in the garage, and I am working on the center console. I've now got the speaker holes cut in the center, and I spoke to a guy here locally that might be able to chrome this using the, I think it's Alta chroming system, where they spray it on and it looks like chrome. He's doing a helmet right now, a construction worker's helmet, so I might go over there, take this part, have a look, and talk to him about maybe getting this part chromed. Okay, I'm fast at work over here, and I've decided to double up these panels for strength for the speakers, because this is technically going to be a speaker box. So I'm now going to glue this piece to this piece and then re-nail my border around this that the deck is going to sit on top of. So that's what we're doing. Okay, so we're gluing that down. We'll let that dry. We'll do the other side. All right, side 2 all glued up. That side's going to set for a while. The other side here is all glued up. Okay, we're measuring out our fabric that we're going to cover these pieces for the center console. Definitely got plenty of material goes to that upper edge, so we got extra for covering some other things. We'll see what we might need, but yeah, that's pretty good. What's that, Ace? What's that, buddy? I know, it's looking good, right? Thank you. Okay, so now we've got the material cut out to the shape of our wood, and I've got to check and see if the speaker grill will still fit in there with the fabric going through. I think it's going to be too tight. I think I'm going to have to open that up just a little bit on all 4 of these holes. Okay, holes have been opened up ever so slightly to allow fabric to be able to pass through and have the opening for the speaker grill. So we're getting real close to adding some foam to this and putting the fabric on, but not quite yet. Okay, we're working on cars today, so that obviously means we're going to Joann's. So now what I'm working on is trying to form out of plexiglass the pockets for the cell phones. I've made a cell phone analog out of plywood and some plexiglass, just that's what's glued together there. So I can try and melt this around it and make a pocket out of it. That's the goal. Let's see what this turns out like, if I can even get it hot enough. Well, it's definitely working. The wood is holding it down, and you can see it's bending an S-curve into it. So that's definitely working one side. We'll have to do the other side, make a pocket. Here's one pressed in to the shape. We're going to see, got some batteries holding it down while it cools, and we'll see if we end up with a cell phone shaped piece of plastic. And this is all going to be under cover, so you won't see any of it. But let's see what that looks like. Here's yet another setup, trying to get this thing heated and shaped. I wish I had a vacuum forming table, because that would be ideal. I could just vacuum seal this thing down, not this plastic, but some other plastic, and that would make life a lot easier. I'm planning on building one of them vacuum forming tables at some point. I guess I should be doing that soon. But we're getting close. I think I've got a couple cracks in this. We're going to see what it looks like. We still got to make another one. Here's the second one, which I think is going to turn out much better, I'm hoping. I think it's got less wrinkles in it. I tried doing all three sides at once, so I may have to cut another piece and try it. This one just didn't. Experimental. Just, it's warped and crappy looking, so I'll probably make another one. See how this one comes out of the mold. And if it comes out okay, we'll do another one. Pretty hard to see, but you can see all the wrinkles. This is my first attempt. Not too good. Pretty warped. It's my second attempt. Not too bad, but I got a crack right here in the edge, so that's broken. Here's my third one, and this is looking much better. This is going to get covered with fabric and foam, so it's going to take out quite a few of the imperfections. So we're going to try and make another one. I got a couple more pieces of plastic here and here. Maybe we'll make two more and choose what our best ones are, but I'm definitely getting better at this. So, cool. Alright, so we're going to see what this one looks like after it cools, but I think this is one of my better ones. I'm now learning how to clamp them as I go, so heat and clamp and slowly bend them down and prevent the warps from coming out of them. This one came out pretty good, and this new one might even be any better. This one's got a couple marks, but you're not going to see it. It's going to be completely covered, and it's going to be covered in foam and material, and I just don't think there's going to be anything. There is a little warp right there, but I'm going to have to sand these down so it's a nice smooth transition anyways, but certainly better than the first monstrosity I've made. And we still got one panel left. We can make even another one. Okay, just as a test, I took a flappy wheel disc and flattened this out. If I can get this thing to... So I took the edge off and turned it to a knife blade. It's hard to see, but that way the fabric will come down and make a nice transition. So that was a test on my junky one. Let's do a nice one. See what that looks like. So here's my best one. This one came out really nice. So if we can get that shaped and the edges taken down so we make a nice smooth transition, that is going to work out really nice. I'm pretty happy with that one. Now I know how to make them. It's even better than that one. Alright, let's see if we can get this one hit with the flappy wheel. Okay, I've now got two of these. I've sanded the edges and tapered them, so when this goes up against the wood, the fabric will come down, make a nice transition. I also sanded them all completely, so adhesive will stick to them when I glue them down. And I think we're getting close to starting to cover this thing in fabric. I still have to drill some holes and get the wireless chargers mounted, and I have to put some fabric behind them so that way it'll be inside the pocket. There'll be some fabric, and then the big sheet of fabric will go right over the top of this, but there'll still be some fabric inside with some foam. So that's the goal. Let's see if we can permanently mount the charging pads inside, figure out where they're going to go. Okay, so there's the location where this is going to go. I trimmed down the edge, and I'm going to bond that to this somehow. maybe some epoxy or something to get this locked on. Again, this is going to get covered in foam and leather and inside the pocket as well. So we're going to work on that. All right. So using a router, I went ahead and countersunk this little hole right here, and the charging pad's going to go in that, and then that puts it flush. So when I put fabric over it, nothing's protruding out of that hole. And now I've got the wires run through the back side, and when I get close, this has got a sticky pad on the back, so I put that sticky pad, pull it, and stick that thing in there, and then the chip gets soldered back on the other side, and it'll get mounted right to the wood when the time comes. But we're getting close. But yeah, it's already been tested. See, this has to be a certain distance. It can't be too far away from the phone, and it's a tiny, tiny distance. So I've tested it with the cloth over the top of it, the leather, and it works. Countersunk, so I like that. Maybe countersink these wires too. Quick countersink, and just notch that out so the wire, so it's completely flush. So when the fabric goes over it, phone can slip in and out. Nothing's protruding. I'm going to glue this pad to the inside of our cell phone pocket and clamp it down with this other spare one, faulty one, and get this foam attached to the inside here. So that's what we got. Got the foam inside getting clamped down. We'll see how that works out. Working on this thing, I've now got the foam laid down on one of the panels and the pocket into it. This is complicated because I've got fabric behind it, some leather behind the pocket, and then there's going to be leather over the top of the pocket. And of course the speaker holes still have to be cut. We'll do that last. Well, I think that's going to do it for this video. There is still so much to do. I've got to figure out how to get the ducting from the air conditioning unit to the rear of the car and get that all routed around the shifter. I got to figure out connectors for plugging everything in so I can take the whole thing out. I just want to be able to unplug a couple connectors and be able to remove the entire console. I'm trying to figure out a way that I can remove the decking around the shifter and behind, the stereo, so I can access the wiring and the stuff that's back there. There's a lot of things that have got to go into it. I'm thinking about all this stuff, trying to figure it out. I still got to go meet with this guy who says he can spray this chrome. I've seen this stuff on the internet. This chrome is amazing. It looks great, but man, it's super expensive. The kits are super, super expensive. And even he was telling me just the materials are super expensive. So he has to charge a decent amount, but it still may be possible for me to use my 3D printed parts. I do have a plan B if that doesn't work out, but I'm still hoping to use those 3D printed parts if they're chrome and they match the dashboard, and I've done my best to mimic the factory look. This whole thing could be amazing, but there's still a lot of work to do because I would still have to print the whole top deck where the shifter comes through all the way back to the armrest. All that would have to still be 3D printed, but I'm going to hold off on that because I want to go talk to this guy and see if he can actually 3D print it, what it'll cost, is it feasible. There's still a lot going on, but we got a plan B if it doesn't work. But there's still a lot to do, man. This is a big job, man. Even people who, the guy I got my fabric from, he does center consoles and stuff, and he told me, man, it's a lot of work. Anyway, thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and there's more coming down the line. All right, see you in the next one. Peace.